This morning we're going to multiply complex numbers. When you are multiplying complex numbers, it's the same again. The I is going to kind of act like the variable x. There's just one catch though. The one catch and the one thing that you have to remember is that I squared is going to equal -1. I squared is going to equal -1. So that's the biggest thing that you need to remember when you're dealing with this. So, our first example, if you have 3i times 6i, well, 3 times 6 is 18. I times I is I squared. But I squared is equal to -1. So what that means is, this is really saying 18 times -1 is a -18. Okay? Now, if you had an example, this isn't one of our official examples, but if you had an example like 2i times 5, okay? 2i times 5 is just going to be 10i. And you're done. Because I is just going to be an I. But I squared is -1. Now, we're not going to go any higher than I squared for today. Tomorrow, we'll go with higher powers of I. But for today, we're just going to look at I squareds and I's. Okay? So, you can call this an extra one. Let's go ahead and look at example 2. For example 2, we've got -4i times a 6i. So, -4 times 6 is -24. I times I is I squared. So you've got an I squared in there. So that means that you've got -24 times a -1, which makes your answer a positive 24. Now take a look at what happens with these so that we can make things a little bit easier when we start getting a little more exciting questions here. A positive 18i squared just became a -18. A -24i squared just became a positive 24. So notice that the I squared is just changing the sign of the number in front of it. So positive becomes a negative, negative becomes a positive, and the I squared goes away. So when we get a little more complicated, let's look at number 3. We have 2i times a -3 plus 6i. So now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of combine this little extra problem along with these with I squareds, because these two things have to distribute. So you have to take this 2i and you have to distribute into the parentheses after it. So that 2i has to multiply by the -3 and it has to multiply by the positive 6. It's distribution. So 2i times -3 is equal to -6i. 2i times 6i is 2 times 6, or a positive 12. And I times I, which is an I squared. Okay? Now, look at this I squared. Look at what it's going to do with this 12. What I like to do is just circle it and say, oh, that I squared is going to change that sign to make it negative. So my final answer will be -6i minus 12. Now, remember last time we talked about how we didn't always want to write it this way. So if you were doing multiple choice, which you're going to be doing on your quiz, it's not going to be in this order. It's going to be the A plus or minus BI order. So the answer that you would be looking for multiple choice is -12 minus 6i. Nothing's different. The signs haven't changed. We just changed the order of them. Okay? So just keep that in mind. They always put the number without the I first and then the number with the I second. All right, let's look at number 4. 4i times 2 minus 5i. All right, go ahead and hit pause on your video and give this one a try. All right, so you should have distributed this 4i. So 4i times 2 is 8i. 4i times negative 5i is 4 times negative 5, or a negative 20. I times I is an I squared. I'm going to circle that one because the negative 20i squared is going to become a positive 20. So I have 8i plus 20, or 20 plus 8i, if I'm putting it in the right order. Okay, these are the exact same problems, the exact same answers, just different orders. All right, let's get a little harder. Number 5. Let's say we saw a problem that looked like this. 2 plus 3i times 3 minus 4i. Now, this is a foiling problem. We did these and we foiled with x's. Now we're going to foil with i's. The process is all the same, except you're going to have that I squared at the end. So to FOIL, you have your firsts. Okay, that 2 is going to multiply with that 3. Then your outers. That 3i is going to multiply with that 4i. Then you're going to go the other way around. Oh, hold on. Outers. Got to get that outer right. We are going to multiply the 2's got to multiply with both of those things. There we go. Sorry. Your first is the 2 times the 3. Your outers is your 2 times the negative 4i. Then we're going to go with the inners. 3i times 3 and 3i times negative 4. Essentially, the only thing that's happening is each of these numbers on the left are going to distribute and multiply with each of these numbers on the right. So the 2 is going to multiply with the 3 and the 4i. The 3i has to multiply with the 3 and the 4i. Okay, so each one of these numbers has to multiply with each one of those numbers. Now, order doesn't really matter. If you're talking about the word FOIL, you're going to go in that order, but it doesn't matter at the end as long as you get them all multiplied. So, a 2 times a 3 is a 6. A 2 times a negative 4i is a negative 8i. A 3i times a 3 is a positive 9i. And a 3i times a negative 4i is a negative 12i squared. So, when I'm doing these problems, the first thing I do is I circle this and I say, oh, that's going to be a plus 12. So now I'm going to combine my like terms. So I have 6 and 12. So 6 plus 12 is equal to 18. Okay? So this is going to be, these two together is going to be 18. I think I have enough room right here. And then these two terms are like terms as well. So I have a negative 8 plus 9, which is going to be a 1. You don't have to write the 1, but you can. 18 plus 1i. If you're doing multiple choice, they aren't going to have the 1 there. They will just have the I. 18 plus I. Okay? Let's try another one. Let's look at number 6. We have negative 1 plus 4i and 2 plus 5i. So we've got to do our distribution. If you want to hit pause and give it a try, great. If you want to just wait and watch with me, that's okay too. Alright, so negative 1 times 2 is a negative 2. A negative 1 times a 5i is a negative 5i. Now I got to distribute this 4i. 4i times 2 is a positive 8i. 4i times 5i is a positive 20i squared. Okay? I'm going to circle this because it's got an I squared, and I'm going to say, okay, well, that's really going to be a negative 20. And now I'm going to combine my like terms. So I have a negative 2 and a negative 20. Negative 2 minus 20 is going to give me a negative 22. And a negative 5 plus 8 is going to give me a positive 3i. So I have negative 22 plus 3i. All right, it's going to change up a little bit. Let's look at number 7. Number 7, we have 3 minus 4i quantity squared. Now, we've seen these with x's. Now remember, when you see a problem that looks like this, we didn't distribute this squared. Instead, we had to write it twice. So we ended up saying this right here is equal to 3 minus 4i times 3 minus 4i. Now, because it said squared, that means that it's multiplied by itself. If you had 2 squared, it's 2 times 2. If you had 5 squared, it's 5 times 5. Well, this is a group squared, so it's that group times that group. Now, if you look at number 7, it's just like number 5 and it's just like number 6. We got to do all the work the exact same. So, I'm going to go ahead and multiply it. If you'd like to hit pause and give it a try on your own. Again, great. We have one more problem after this. 3 times 3 is equal to 9. 3 times a negative 4i is negative 12i. Negative 4 times 3 is a negative 12i. Negative 4i times negative 4i is a positive 16i squared. I circle this one and say, oh, that's going to be a negative 16 because that I squared is going to change that sign. So then I say, what's 9 minus 16? That's a negative 7. And negative 12 minus 12 is a negative 24i. All right, last problem, number 8. Number 8, we'll have a negative 2 plus a 5i quantity squared. If you want to go ahead and give this one a try, hit pause. All right, so the first thing you have to do is write it twice. Negative 2 plus 5i times negative 2 plus 5i. Now, we distribute. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. Negative 2 times a positive 5i is a negative 10i. Positive 5i times negative 2 is a negative 10i. Positive 5 times I times a positive 5i is a positive 25i squared. This is going to become a negative 25 because the I squared will change that sign. So 4 minus 25 is a negative 21. And a negative 10 minus a 10, oops, is going to give me a negative 20i. So I get negative 21 minus 20i. All right. If you think you're ready, you can go ahead and give your quiz a shot. If you don't think you're ready, go ahead through and work them out again. Look at the problems again. Look at how we do them all. Use these notes in order to do the quiz. You can use them to kind of make sure that you understand how they all work and how they look. Have a good day.